So what do I mean about the code reusability? Well, let's go ahead and create a new class. Public class generic list. So this generic list, we want to have a method called add. Public void add. And in this, we need to have some sort of input, and we need to do something with it. And so we can add that there, or we can just have add. So this input, we don't actually know what type it's going to be. And in fact, this list, since it's going to be a generic list, we don't know, is this going to be a list of strings? Is this going to be a list of ints? Is this going to be a list of anything like that? We may not know that at compile time. So we can make this as a generic type, and then our class here, or our method here, whatever type you create that list with, you can now specify, hey, this add is going to use that same type there. So we can go ahead and create a generic list. Notice that it has a less than, greater than there. And now we give it whatever type this list is going to be, int. And we'll just say list1 is equal to new generic list. Notice it's automatically filling in the int there, semicolon. And now we can say list1 dot add 42 and list1 dot add 24. Now, this isn't actually going to do anything because, well, our add doesn't actually have anything. We might have, say, an array in here of a generic type, which stores all of that, and then as we add it, we just add to the next element in the particular array. Or who knows, whatever we want to do. But this is just kind of demonstrating that you can create a class with a generic type and then pass that type through your methods and everything else inside of your class, and to make it a lot more flexible. So you can go ahead and say, instead of int, we can say that these are now strings, and now we can add in Jeremy, Luke, and notice that our add stayed the same. So whatever functionality we have in here, it will just take that generic type and use that. You can also do this with multiple types. So we can go ahead and say T2. And now we can go ahead and, instead of doing this add, we go ahead and get rid of this here and get rid of this. We can go ahead and create a couple of variables. We can say private T num1, private T2 num2. I'm using num1, num2 when really it should just be variable 1, variable 2, but whatever. Public T num1, and then we have a get, return this dot num1, and we have a set. This dot num1 is equal to value. This needs to be capital N. And let's see, so we have that, and I'm lazy, so let's go ahead and copy and paste this. And this is going to be a 2, this will be a 2, and this will be a 2. And let's say num2, this is complaining, can't convert that. Oh, because I need to put a 2 there. All right, so now I have my class with two generic types. Instead of this, I'm going to say add. So this will add two numbers together. So this will be a generic class which you will add two numbers together, much like how we were trying to do before, which we couldn't actually do with just a method. So let's go ahead and now say, oops, generic add. And we'll just say int, and then I'll just say addition1 is equal to new generic add. And now we can go ahead and say addition1 dot num1 is equal to 42. addition1 dot num2 is equal to 24, and console dot write line, and there's just a whole bunch of typing, but that's okay. Addition1 dot num1 plus addition1 dot num2 is equal to, well, now we just need to add them together. So we'll just do addition 1 dot num1 plus addition 1 dot num2. And so this class that we created, this generic add, will work with integers, or we can change one of these to a float. And now this, we'll do 24.5 float. Notice that I'm not changing anything down here. I'm not changing anything up here because this is still working with generic types. And now we are going to add in 42 plus 24.5 is equal to 66.5. So notice that this still functions the same. And in fact, if you can add in two things together and whatever those are understands the addition operator, you can add in different types, a decimal and a float. Decimal, and this will be 42 some random numbers with an M at the end to indicate that it's a decimal. And, oh, well, okay, so you can't actually add decimals and floats together. I'm not exactly sure why, because they're basically the same, but we can go ahead and change this to a double. Double, and then don't even need to have anything there because it automatically knows that that's supposed to be a double. And now we can add in a double and a float and add them together to get the answer. So this is just using a generic types for a class to then let us do some basic addition. Now there's much better ways of handling this, but this is kind of just demonstrating that you can have multiple types, generic types for your class, and you can handle it differently. In fact, you can even overload the addition operator in there if you so desired.